Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, issue number 228, dated June 1977. And this is one of those, which one of these heroes will die? And that there was a death here. At this time, I always kind of took, deaths of a character seriously. Here we see some of the prominent members in this issue. Obviously, Superboy's front and center. We see Chemical King to his right, Colossus Boy, Chameleon Kid, or is it Chameleon Lad? I don't know. And Saturn Girl, kind of looking like she just left a porn shoot, to be honest. And we're seeing kind of a faceless villain here who is looking down the team. The cover is by Mike Grell. At this time, Grell had left the title, but he was still submitting covers for the Legion because he was still a well-regarded artist by these fans. So, before I go into the story, take a look at the Hostess ad. See, it's a Batman and Robin one. They're kind of facing off against this pigeon lady. And what's going on is that the pigeon lady, beyond looking and flying like one, she can also command other birds to sort of grab these statues, with the idea that America without statues, isn't America. I don't know if they were grabbing Confederate ones, though. So anyway, she's basically blackmailing the world over these statues, saying, "Hey, if nothing else, we'll have a place to crap on something." Batman and Robin, they're talking to the chief of staff here. Apparently, the pigeon person, that's what she's called. She's going to grab the statues at Mount Rushmore, and they need the military's help. We see Mount Rushmore here and a bunch of pigeons. So, yeah, she's following through with this thread here. However, it turns out that there's a bunch of Hostess cupcakes and some devil food, and apparently that is so distracting to the pigeon person that the military is able to capture her in a net. However, she still has a bunch of these Hostess pastries, so she's happy, as basically her own birds are carrying her off, as if hey guys, we'll take care of her, we'll make sure she's never a problem again. And the military and Batman and Robin are happy. Excuse me. So I'm going to go into the story. The title is That a World Might Live, a Legionnaire Must Die. And we'll see the creative team. It's Paul Levitt, who's the writer. He did a lot of good stuff. He really helped this title a lot. The art is by James Sherman and Jack Abel. I'm not familiar with Sherman too much, but I am familiar with Jack Abel. I thought for the most part this was a well-drawn comic. And they mentioned the colorist. We see the roll call, the heroes that are involved. Obviously, there's no way that they can have the entire team in one story, but we have Superboy, we have Chemical King, Chameleon Boy, Shadow Lass, Light Lass, Colossal Boy, and Timberwolf. The scan isn't that great, though. So anyway, we see a meeting of the president of of basically Earth, or at least one of the big continents. He's talking to Wildfire, excuse me, Wildfire and Chameleon Boy. So they're both in the office. They're basically saying the ruler of Australia. And I'm not sure whether that's a reference to the second Superman.
What do you want?
Well, General,
The world is a big place. Thank goodness my needs are small. As it turns out, I have this affinity for beachfront property.
What do you want?
Australia.
But apparently, the ruler of Australia is going to declare war on basically the rest of the planet, and they need to stop him. The problem is that there's no actual mechanism, there's no legal mechanism that they can do to stop him. It's not like they can drag him to court because they're saying basically this doesn't violate Earth's law, so we can't actually protect ourselves from this dangerous person we know who's going to attack us. So the president is basically saying, he's saying this. Listen, this is off the record, but we need to kind of get rid of this guy. He's Dragon. So Dragon is our villain. So anyway, we go to the city of Perth, and that's the big city in Australia. This is 2977, I think. So apparently everything kind of held up there. See two attractive young women, one who's a brunette. We see the other is sort of a strawberry blonde. They're having fun. They're just chatting and gossiping. Suddenly they're taken from behind, and they're taken to an alley. It looks like Superboy is holding both of them. He's probably assuring them, hey, I knocked these two out. They're totally unconscious. They're okay. Don't ask me how I know about doing this. I just say I had a lot of practice. So anyway, the two girls are out. Superboy's just, he's kind of enjoying holding these two. Apparently, they're going to switch clothing, Light Lass and Shadow Lass. Also, Shadow Lass has to put on full body makeup because she has blue skin. And of course, these are Caucasians. So they're telling the male members, no peeking. And then they basically wear the same outfits as the secretaries. So Light Lass, excuse me, Light Lass and Shadow Lass, they're basically doppelgangers for the two women here, who turn out to be secretaries for the Dragon, the villain. So we see Saturn Girl there. And the thing is, they look like the secretaries, Dragon secretaries, but they aren't Dragon secretaries, and he's going to kind of notice that. So they brought Saturn Girl for a mind transfer. Apparently, so the memories of each individual that Light Lass and Shadow Lass are impostering. They also got their memories, which isn't a problem in this issue, but I can imagine that really screwing up these two girls if they have not only their memories but another person's memories, because you don't know what type of life these two had. So anyway, the transfer is complete. So kind of like Saturn Girl, she's like a USB port here. So data transfer is over. Saturn Girl's very tired. Colossal Boy says, "Listen, I promised your bro, Lightning Lad, that I would, get you home in one piece." So Colossal Boy kind of has that like kind of little creepy energy with some of the girls, a little possessive. Probably at his height, like almost any woman is like a doll to him. So that could be screwing him up. Now, two of these members are dating. That's Timber Wolf, who never really did anything wolfy. He just kind of was a kind of like a Superboy type. And Light Lass, they're involved. So these two are kissing. He knows this is a dangerous mission. Saturn Girl doesn't want to give them the chance because she's like all business, and you don't think about your personal life. Another one of the members is calling her out on that, saying that you're kind of an ice queen, and You need to kind of knock it off. So there's a little tension there. We see the two secretaries. We see our imposters, Light Lass and Shadow Lass. They're heading toward the office, Dragon's office. Apparently, Dragon is kind of inspecting the troops here. Superboy makes kind of an interesting observation that that this guy Dragon, he's training an army, and he wants to break a peace that has lasted for 200 years. And he notes that they're the ones, the Legionnaires, they're the ones who are sneaking around like criminals to stop this guy. And then he adds, and he says, and I thought 20th century politics were weird. Yeah, he did not know what was coming up, but apparently Colossal Boy and Timberwolf, they are in the they're in the crowd of soldiers because they're impersonating soldiers. So those two are kind of infiltrating the troops here. See an ad, basically kind of a kite thing for Superman. But what's interesting is you see two Marvel characters here, Spider-Man and Captain America, and which is kind of interesting seeing that in the DC comic. And then we see the baseball, the 1977 season. This is the first season of baseball I followed. So anyway, go back to the story. We see the soldiers are kind of like, parading in front of Durgan, kind of like those old parades the Soviets used to have. Dragon wants to take a closer look at the soldiers because he's saying, hey guys, I'm going to be sending you to war probably pretty soon. I want to see if you're ready. And then what he does, he wants to see a test of some of the soldiers. How well they'll do in combat. And he picks out two soldiers that just happen to be Colossal Boy and Timberwolf. Now the two are concerned because they're superheroes here, and they're worried about blowing their cover. But Timberwolf says, relax, just don't use your powers, or just don't be too obvious. And since these are Legionnaires, they easily beat these drill instructors. So Dragon is kind of impressed here because he sees the two guys are just kind of beating up on these guys, these drill instructors. No problem. Dragon notices how well these two perform, but at the same time he's a little suspicious, kind of thinking that these guys are a little too well trained and that maybe they might be, infiltrating, but he doesn't have any proof, and he kind of gives them the benefit of the doubt, tells them, listen, next time I see your name on the promotion list, you'll do well. So they didn't blow their cover at that point. So we go to Dragon's office here. Yeah, it kind of looks like a 1970s office. We see Light Lass and Shadow Lass as they're impersonating the secretaries and doing the work. We also see Chameleon Boy. He's there. He's the size of kind of a fly or a wasp. And they're kind of talking about what they should expect when Dragon comes back to the office. And apparently they while they were there, they did find a device. And they tampered with the device, and they figured this is a communication device that maybe we should track where the signal is coming from. So then after they finish rigging it, they return. Chameleon Boy is a hawk, and he returns the device back to Dragon's office. Now at this time, we see two heroes. They're heading toward Earth, and I think what happened is that they want to do this chemical experiment. That's not the word I should be using. Up here in privacy, so I guess they're figuring that no one will bother them, and what they're doing is that secret. Superboy is flying a huge bubble that we see Chemical King in it. Chemical King is doing the chemical mixing because his power is that he can control chemical reactions. And in the superhero world, that's not really a power that's kind of well respected. Although it's a power that if it actually existed in our world, it would be amazing. Because imagine what Walter White would do with this power to control chemical reactions. So anyway, Chemical King is feeling really bad about himself, and he kind of feels like that he's just really a fifth wheel and not really a full true member of the Legion. As the bubble is being flown by Superboy, there's a meteorite that's heading directly for it. So if it makes contact, it's going to destroy the bubble. And Chemical King notes it, but he also notes, hey, you notice I'm not doing anything about it. So at this point, this is when Superboy gets into action. He flies toward the meteorite, and he basically smashes it into 1,000 particles. So it doesn't affect the bubble at all, or Chemical King. But Chemical King is still feeling really bad, just pointing out that, listen, there's not much I can do about stuff like that. But Superboy is trying to make him feel better by saying, listen, we all have our skill sets and we're all equally valuable. Chemical King doesn't believe that argument, so yeah. He's sort of like the soldier who, like, if he expects to die, he will die. Take a look at some of these ads here. These ads were very well known, very well remembered, at least by people of a certain age. We see Slim Jim. I never understood. I never had any desire to eat this. I don't imagine any kid who did. But apparently they were really trying for the youth market for a long time. Because, 10 years later they had Macho Man selling Slim Jims. And yeah, he's going to appeal to kids. We see this karate ad. What I noticed is this drawing of a guy who he looks like he's a redhead, and he also looks like he has a porn stash. And see another one for Davy Crockett, those kind of, raccoon hats, I think they were called. And yeah, these are kind of some of the ads. You can get live seahorses. Ugh, I hate the idea of sending live animals through the mail. Okay, so go back to the story. Dragon is trying to contact whoever he contacts on that device. However, he notices that there's some interference with the beam, which leads him to believe that the device was tampered with. And as he's trying to work the device, in his Windows reflection, he notices that both Light Lass and Shadow Lass are basically spying on him in this kind of Three's Company way. So at this point, I'm just going to call them, Chrissy and Janet, because this is amateur stuff. This stuff is what they're doing is really amateur, and there's more amateur hour as this continues. So the two girls are spotted. He's pissed off. He wants to know what's going on, and Chameleon Lad is noticing this because he's still in the office. And he thinks that the girls have been found out, so he wants to save them. So he turns into this wild beast, and he breaks into the office and he says, "Listen, grab onto me and we'll get the hell out." The girls were initially surprised. They felt that they could have talked their way out of it. So they felt that Chameleon Lad was a bit rash in coming into the office and not giving them a chance to sort of lie their way out of the situation. But that's too late now. I bet the debriefing after this adventure was probably a shit show. I can see Wildfire, who's the leader there, and I can see Brainiac 5 there. And Chameleon Lad, who's like the permanent member of the Legion's espionage squad, was probably, coming to this part. And I bet you he said, let me tell you what these two skeezers were doing and what they thought was good spying techniques. And then I could see Shadow Lash is probably like crying her eyes out. Light Lass is gonna fight back. She's gonna say, hey asshole, you're the guy who can shrink to the size of a fly. Why didn't you use that power to go into Dragon's office and just spy on him directly rather than having us do this like Janet and Chrissy type spying? But it's probably a mess of a meeting. So anyway, the Avengers going on. Durgan is so startled, he turns white. He literally turns white. Durgan is like an African or a black man, because I don't know whether he's from America or wherever. He's from Australia because he's the leader of Australia. But the thing is, in the Legion Folklore in issue, I think 216, it was explained that all the black people went to an island all by themselves, and then it turned invisible, and they didn't want to deal with the rest of the world because they were just so angry at white people. That was the story they had given. So it's a little unusual that I guess this one guy left the island. But anyway, the girls, they fight back. Shadow Lash uses her shadow powers. Light Lass is using her ability to change gravity and kind of basically kind of get these guys in free floating manner, but her powers are a little slow to use, and they're kind of overpowered by Durgan's guards here. So both the girls are gone, along with Chameleon. They're still alive, but they're out of the game. Durgan, he's still angry. He's saying, "Okay, this is war. This is officially war," because I know who sent these guys. Take a look at an ad here. A couple of things. I think the one thing that stands out are sort of the DC merchandise with the Neil Adams Treasury. That would have been great to have. See another ad, house ad for some DC titles. Ragman didn't seem too appealing to me. We see the Changing Man. I think this is when Ditko sort of gave his last real effort to comics. I think every comic story he had after this, comic job he had after this, I should say, kind of was really lacking in effort. I had reviewed one of his later efforts in Iron Man. So anyway, we go back, we see Superboy and Chemical King, and they're talking to each other in the bubble, and they're explaining what this particular potion would do. And apparently it's super sensitive. However, because of the meteorite, there was an interruption in the chemical reaction. So he's kind of hoping that small little unexpected event won't hurt basically the chemical's potency. I don't know what they're doing with it. But anyway, Superboy's using his supervision. He can kind of see what's going on in Dragon's. He can see. Superboy is trying to see it in this planet. Apparently, Superboy was pushing the bubble toward where the transmission was going. So that part I kind of missed until now. So the reason Chemical King and Superboy are heading here is because they found out where the transmission is, and it turns out it's from the Dark Circle, and the Dark Circle is a group of warlords who have fought the Legion before. And apparently the Dark Lord is behind Dragon and his efforts to declare war on the rest of Earth. So Dragon's kind of their puppet. And once Superboy and Chemical King, they get this information, they fly back to Earth. because they now know where the transmission emanates from. Then we go back to Earth. We see Dragon. He's throwing this huge rally. He has the three Legionnaires imprisoned in a bubble, and they're tied up. He's explaining, listen, these interlopers were attempting to affect the affairs of Australia. They're traitors, they're enemies, and they're after you. And he's sort of using this as an excuse to sort of elevate his rhetoric against, the rest of the planet. So the soldiers are listening to this. They're listening to Dragon. He's saying that, the penalty for what they did is death. So we're going to murk them right here. But we know that Colossal Boy and Timberwolf, they're in the crowd because they've infiltrated their military. Colossal Boy wants to take it a little slower and see what they're up against fully. Timberwolf is seeing his girlfriend on that stage. So he's saying, F that, I'm just going to go straight ahead and attack. Colossal Boy saying, hey, since you jumped the gun, I'm going to go with you, bro. So before we go back to the story, take a look at an ad here. This is an ad I remember, these fishing ads. It was always strange to me. I'm not quite sure what... I'm sure there were some teenagers who were into fishing, but it seemed odd that they were so persistent. See another one, Return of the New Gods. This is, they brought back some of the Jack Kirby stuff in the 70s. Really wasn't until the 80s DC properly used these characters. So anyway, go back to the story. See Colossal Boy's taking a lot of hits from the armed military, because when they have their parades, they also have live ammo. And but it's not bothering him too much at this point because he's in giant size and he's kind of like wrecking their tanks, so he's doing well. Timberwolf, he's kind of on par with some of the stronger members, so he's pretty powerful. So he's going to take on these soldiers pretty easily. Dragon is noting that these two guys are really kind of making a mess of his army, and that the plan has to change. So he has to begin the war now, because apparently the Dark Circle wanted to decide when war would be declared and they would destroy the planet, but Dragon's saying, I'm going to have to make an executive decision on that and take it out of their hands. Again, the Legionnaire, they're getting closer and closer, so they're close to saving their compadres. Dragon pushes a button that's on a pendant. It makes a loud click, and then it kind of this kind of panic room suddenly appears. Dragon's sort of being fortified with steel doors and weaponry. However, Colossal Boy just smashes into that wall. Timberwolf goes in afterwards. He kind of breaks up some robots that are putting up a little bit of resistance, but they catch up to Dragon and the others, and Timberwolf is kind of really warning Dragon about not hurting his girlfriend. And then it turns out that there's a Superboy and Chemical King are flying toward Australia. Turns out there's a force field there, and the force field is powerful enough to repel Superboy. So Superboy can't get past this force field. However, Chemical King, who's able to control chemical reactions, he changes the chemical reactions that are involved with this force field, and he breaks a hole through it. So, but at the same time, Chemical King kind of feels sorry for himself, even though he did something pretty easily that Superboy could not do. So, I mean, I would think that this little moment would sort of prove, hey, dude, you have value. But nevertheless, his depression is that deep. We go back to Australia. The Legionnaires are all reunited, though some of their hands are still tied. Dragon is kind of turned radioactive. and he's telling them that he doesn't serve Australia, that he serves the Dark Circle, and the Dark Circle wants this world destroyed, and I'm okay with that. And I'll set off the device, but it's also set to transport me off. Most people would take an offer like that and say, yeah, sure. But, Dragon took it, and Timberwolf goes into action. He's a pretty powerful guy. He doesn't do anything wolfy, but he's still a powerful member of the Legion. However, the radiation's too great for him, and he crumbles to his knees. Superboy, Colossal Boy, they burst in. Light Lass has kind of a funny look on her face here, but well drawn, I will say. So anyway, Superboy is getting closer and closer to Dragon, but the radiation is even bothering him. And he is getting just close enough that he can get Timberwolf out. So he wasn't even looking to attack Dragon. He was just trying to get his teammate out. However, Chemical King goes in. We see that Dragon is kind of he's kind of trash talking Chemical King, saying, "Dude, you're so low on the post that I didn't even see you, and I did not get any update because they think so little of your power." But nevertheless, Chemical King is going in. He's absorbing the radiation and changing those chemical reactions. So basically, I think what happens with Dragon is that Dragon was expecting an explosion, then an implosion happened because of the change in reaction. Dragon is still trash talking, Chemical King. Go see a couple ads. See this really skeezy looking guy with the pot belly, and then we see a photo next to him, kind of looking like a porn star. And you see another ad for DC merchandise. I would not have been interested in this stuff at this time. So anyway, you see Chemical King, he's taking on a tremendous amount of radiation. So much so that it looks like it might kill him. The other members are saying, stop what you're doing, you're going to get killed. Without realizing that if Dragon's reaction goes off, they're all going to get killed, except for maybe Superboy. So then what happened was, an implosion happened. And the implosion saved the planet, but it was too much for Chemical King, and Chemical King dies. He dies very sweaty, though. We see Superboy, holding up his friend in that dramatic pose. We see a lot of anger and determination from the guys in terms of, avenging their friend. And, this is... Chemical King was a character designed to die. That's how he was introduced. He was introduced in Memorial, in Adventure Comics number 360 something, whatever. And excuse me. And I remember a couple issues with Chemical King, and it was weird. I don't think they fully understood how to use his power set. I think there was one issue, and it was the issue where Wildfire was introduced. I think the guys got Chemical King and Element Lad confused, because in that issue, Chemical King was really powerful. He could fire off cobalt bolts and power and all this, and I think someone probably told them that, hey, that's the stuff Element Lad does. Chemical King doesn't do this. And then there was another adventure, I think it was issue number 211, where his powers were used more appropriately. And he was very helpful in that issue. But again, I can see where a kid would be like, yeah, it's not a big deal power. Okay, so that's the end of the story. I think the follow-up was a little disappointing, though. Okay, so they're talking about issue number 223, and talking about how good the art is. I think this person wanted more of a connection with the Karate Kid title, because at this time, Karate Kid was the one Legionnaire who had a spin-off. And, but the thing is, the Karate Kid's adventures were taking place in 1977. So Karate Kid had gone, back into the past. And the comic ran for like 15 issues. So, it wasn't a complete bomb, but it clearly wasn't a success. So they're saying, hey, maybe if you tied in the two more, it would have helped the magazine. Another one is talking about the fan base, saying that Legionnaire fans sort of have a reputation. Legion has like a reputation for having very young fans, like 15 to 17-year-olds, and this writer, who's female, mentions that she's going to be 24, and she's still a fan of the comic. Because the Legion had a lot of female characters, they did tend to have more female readers. And we see actually full letters rather than just partial letters. Another letter is asking how come Superboy doesn't come across any of his descendants. Because like I said, it's in another review, he's ghosting this future. Because there are no Superboy descendants or Superman descendants in that future. So the timeline says at some point this guy, it was over for him. And yet here he is, existing in this future. And the last letter is about an employee who worked there. Not quite sure what was going on there. We see one last thing, upcoming titles from DC at the time. They're promoting the Wonder Woman title a lot here. This is direct currents. They're also talking about Action Comics coming out, issue 472, and Detective Comics. Yeah. Green Lantern, number 95. I think this is where Mike Grell went. And Warlord. That was definitely a Mike Grell title. Yeah, just saying what's on sale. So that's it, and that is my walkthrough of Superboy, issue number 228, and I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.